So A1 Pictures debuted 86 over the spring season in 2021, and it absolutely captivated people's hearts. As of right now on my anime list, 86, the first season, part 1, ranks in the top 10 animes of that spring season. And let me tell you, when we found out that we were getting part 2 oh so soon, people had very high hopes and expectations kicking off this weekend. Over the weekend, episode 12 officially kicked off on Saturday. And by episode 12, I mean not part 1 overview episode 12, like the new episode 12. And let me tell you, there's a lot to unpack in this. Welcome to the channel. My name is Jake. I really just want to talk about anime. I'm a big fan of 86, and after I watched the opener of part 2 yesterday, I was like, I have to talk about this. There's 2 things I need to inform everybody here about before we get into this video. No, it's not Raid Shadow Legends. If you have not seen 86 yet, stop what you're doing right now. Keep this video pulled up, just tab on out, type on in your Crunchyroll, get your old Super Soaker 8000 buttered popcorn, open up a crack of cool Coca-Cola with the boys, gals, and non-binary pals, watch all the way up to what is currently released with 86, and then come back to this video. And then what you do, you might as well like, comment, subscribe. Anyways, let me know how you felt about this episode as well down in the comments. You know, whether you're a new person, you know, just getting into 86, or maybe you're obsessed in collecting the light novels and the manga and you just can't stop thinking about this anime. Let me know how you felt. Now, I'm going to try my best in this video to not spoil literally anything. I've only read a little bit past the anime, which we'll get to later why that is. But don't worry, I won't ruin anything for you. But there's a lot that we need to talk about in this. So let's just start from the beginning. Let's look at 86's newest opening for part 2 first. Now, I just want to say real quick that this song absolutely slaps. You should definitely listen to it, put it on your playlist. I can't show you on the YouTube video because if I play the song on YouTube, YouTube's going to give me a copyright. And you know what? I'm really not trying to make people mad, especially when those people have more money than me. Now, throughout this opening theme, there's a lot of different instances where like one side of the screen is grueling, dark, death, mysterious, and then the other side is happy, healthy, full of life. And this honestly could mean one of 2 different things. 1, the Republic is going to be an absolute hot mess, raided, invaded, pillaged group when this season ends. And Shin was kind of hinting that in part 1 when Shin was like, hey, the Legion is evolving, they're developing new things, and if you really think they're going to die during that time, well, sorry. Or number 2 that I want to bring up, it could just be a big thing of symbolism about the Republic, because we know that the Republic is throwing a lot of propaganda about the war. You know, they say that they're not using humans at all, but the humans are literally fighting for them. And so it could look like everything is chill in the hippie happy side of the capital, but in secret it's falling apart and there's a whole bunch of despair, death, and war. Okay, I know we already knew this because of like the trailer for part 2 and then also the website that we checked out in that video that I made. Shin is alive and it actually makes me so happy. There's a lot of new people in these next couple moments that we don't actually know about up to this point, including this group of important commanders, which I looked through the character list I made. They are not people that I remember. We've got Old Man Jenkins here and his maid. This new girl riding on top of Fido, which Fido blew up and died in part 1. So is this like, I assume this is a new Fido, but the squad still alive. God bless. Oh my gosh. And also I kind of want to point out this freaky blue-haired dude with the eye problem. You know, he's maybe got an eye infection. He has an 86 raid com. Is he a part of the new Spearhead? Is he a part of something else? Do not know. Now we see the original Spearhead team out on the front lines as well in this opening, and they're actually using mechas that are not their juggernauts. Here's a picture of the juggernauts that they were using, and then here's the picture of what they were using in the opening theme. They're different. All I gotta say though is this dude and Shin also got a clash. There's something about them. There's no way that they would put them like that next to each other, and it just doesn't make sense otherwise. Also in this anime, I see a lot of uchujin flowers, which if you do not know is this red like flaky thing that symbolizes death in Japan. So I swear to heaven almighty, if my favorite characters die again, I'm gonna have to write an angry email. Now in the final moments, we see some kind of like heavy things, including the squad, the Spearhead group, kind of living a normal life. Like, is that possible at this point? And then also in the final moments, do Shin and Lana finally meet it. This is the age-old question that every researcher and philosopher has been pondering since the beginning of the dinosaurs. Now, let's get into the actual episode. So everything's kind of kicking off with Lena's new squad, and we can already tell that things are going better with Lena and how she's handling being a handler because, well, Lena's group referring to her as Queen. And overall throughout this episode, you're going to see a lot more better dialogue between the two groups. Not necessarily like a passive conflict like she had at times with Spearhead. Now, there's a lot of similarities to part 1 at its beginning to an extent, using some of like almost the same frames. Now, if you look over here, shout out to Jarek on Twitter, who I found this from. So just to give you a little bit of context, this is from, these two images right here are from part 1. These two images right here are from part 2 as Handler and Undertaker, Cyclops and Undertaker. And don't worry, I double checked these two images down here. It's super gloomy outside in part 1 in terms of the actual war that's going on with the Legion, but in the city, it's becoming more brighter, healthy, fun. You know, you wouldn't assume that there's a war. But then you get to over in part 2 and it's brighter over here. There's a lot more, little bit of a happier tone with Cyclops, and it just feels like a little bit better, which could be the symbolism of Lena having a better connection and things progressing towards her goal of making the 86 truly equal. And in the capital, it's looking a little bit darker, a little bit gloomy. This guy is not standing like straight up like a pin. This guy's squatting down a little bit more. So like this could allude to the capital and the Republic kind of falling apart a little bit or starting to crumble. Now, I also want to bring up the scene of the 5 birds flying away as soon as that guy like released them, like I was just showing. Right here, automatically, the 5 escapees of Spearhead, it all makes sense now. And like the power lines over this city almost feel like some sort of net. Like these birds, the Spearhead escaped, but everybody else in the Republic is just stuck because of their old ways, their old thinking, and it's their impending doom because they can't escape. We see a lot of stuff, but I cannot not point this out. Like there has to be some sort of reason that this sword right here is right on top of Lena's head. This has to, like this is the definition of has to be symbolism or foreshadowing or something. It could be foreshadowing like something later, I don't know, but it also could be just symbolism because throughout part 1, like what Lena did, you know, she was on house arrest for a while after she helped Spearhead. And so this could just be a symbolism of her taking a lot of flack and, you know, getting a lot of trouble because of that stuff that she did. And then between the timeline of part 1 and part 2, you know, maybe she did even more things. So maybe she's on like the hot stick with the military. But from the beginning, we can easily tell that Lena is a new outfit and a new attitude. Now, remember, everybody in the military wears blue uniforms over at the Republic. Lena, though, she is now wearing a black suit and has dyed a red streak in her hair. Now, I'm going to point it out actually in the light novel because the light novel kind of tells what it is word for word, and I also like to connect the light novel to the anime. Anyways, ever since she had worn black to mourn them and dyed a portion of her hair red to signify their bloodshed. So she every day is reminding people about Spearhead. Like she's not making it a secret that she's doing stuff with 86 that nobody else is thinking of or nobody else wants to do because everybody else hates the 86. And like, to be honest with her attitude, she's a baddie now. Like this is super apparent and obvious in her meeting with the lieutenant colonel. In her one-on-one meeting, we get notice that she's been demoted because of what she's done, but she's also the most successful handler. She has like the highest kill rate of legions or whatever statistic they have. But I don't even think she has Spearhead anymore. But going back to her being the most successful handler of the group, she like legitimately uses and leverages that status to get what she needs. You know, in part 1, we had all sorts of trouble approving things and things like that, and so she sent Spearhead fireworks, and then she did that big like bombing thing, booming laser, I don't even know what to call that, but now she uses it as leverage so she doesn't have to struggle to get those things. Now there is still struggle, granted, but she makes it very known to the lieutenant colonel that if he didn't oppose it so much, there wouldn't be these issues from his people over and on top of him. Also with her attitude, she's kind of adjusted a little bit in terms of how she interacts with the 86, where we find out, literally says it, that she still asks for their names, but doesn't use them. She sticks to their code names. How do I explain this? I don't think she uses their real names, because if she does, she implies to the group that they're equal. And then according to society, though, the 86 is definitely not equal according to the society standards, right? Because they're outcasts, they're considered pigs. Although Lena does want them to be equal, she acknowledges that society doesn't say, even though she doesn't conform to that. I hope that made sense. And especially after Spearhead's like literal suicide mission, like I don't think she wants to get the same feelings to the other groups as she did to Spearhead in terms of being so distraught. Like she still wants to help the 86 and she still wants the 86 to be equal, but I don't know, she had a connection with them. I also, based on the raid call between Cyclops and Lena, I don't think this new group knows about the situation with Spearhead, and I don't think Lena's like really told them a lot about how she wants to help them be free, because Cyclops mentions one of the best people, who I think we can assume is Undertaker, got promoted up to Spearhead, which if Cyclops knew that Lena had Spearhead, then there would be no reason to say that. So it seems like Lena's doing a lot of stuff on her own right now, or maybe with her friend. Cyclops, though, really cool characters, got 2 colored eyes. That's all I need to know. Cyclops is cool. Enough said. Now, after this introduction part in the episode and kind of setting the scene for Lena and showing off her new character pretty much, this is where things get dicey. And if you're watching the anime episode with me throughout this, I'm going to need you to push pause right now. This is a PSA. If you are a novel reader, maybe you're like me and want to read the novels alongside the episodes as they air, I'm going to need you to stop reading right now. Because if you read the very first part of the novel, the prologue, you're going to get up to this point. But the novel pulls a Peach Boy Riverside, and it kind of has things in a different order than the anime. Now, the reason I told you to stop reading is because I like the anime's order, so far at least. Now, yes, I have read a little bit farther than the anime in the novel, but that was only to confirm that this goes in a little bit of a different order than the anime. And again, I like how the anime does it more because it gives a little more context, a little bit more setting, a little bit of explanation. I haven't even gotten to chapter 2 yet in this book, so even though I've read ahead, it's not very far at all. Now, let's go back to the anime now that you have that PSA. Now, it's at this point in this next part of the episode that Shin is having a dream with Rei. And this dream has huge symbolism in it, and that Shin is truly alone now. I mean, basically, Shin's overall arching goal in Spearhead was to kill his brother Rei because he was part of the Legion. Or I should say his consciousness was part of the Legion. And so now that he's killed Rei's conscious, now that he's out of Spearhead, like, what now? There's also some symbolism in the final moments of the episode overall, which we're actually going to get back to later because there's a huge thing that's a question mark that's put in that part. But to give you a little bit of fast forward, Shin and the gang were actually saved by a group called the Federacy of Giad. The Federacy of Giad is actually a rebellion pretty much that beat the Giad Empire, or the people who made the Legion. And apparently now the Federacy of Giad is just fighting out the rest of the Legion. Now, I find this to be really interesting. I don't think the Republic is like aware of the Federacy of Giad. I think it mentions in the book at a point that like the Giad can't communicate with other countries. And that is an interesting thing about the plot that might develop in the future. But anyways, we meet Ernst Zimmerman, provisional president of Giad. And I'm going to be honest, I really don't trust him. He promises like right away not to harm them, and then when he's talking with the other people, probably is like political figures and stuff that's around him, the others are like, oh, it's easy to just kill them. Like, kind of sus, bro, kind of sus. Now, it's kind of interesting to mention that when the Giad found the Spearhead crew, Spearhead had a Dinosauria with them, which if you don't know the mechs or maybe remember the names and stuff, the Dinosauria was the Legion mech that housed Rei's conscious, which is not their Juggernaut or any equipment that Spearhead was like using. It's a Legion one, so that's weird. But after a month of that encounter, of them finding out, they are welcomed as new citizens. They're new citizens of Giad. And throughout them becoming citizens, we kind of get a glimpse of like Giad and how their political figures want to run their society. Quote, I just want the Federacy to be just, at least, because that is the idea ideal of mankind. I mean, they want to be just and they want them to be free, but they also kind of want to utilize them a little bit. I mean, they literally say that they were amazed at the work that Spearhead was able to use with the Juggernauts. And this blonde chick over here wants to use them as operators for her prototypes, or prototype mechs, I guess we can assume. And we also get an indication that Spearhead wants to go back to the battlefield. And I mean, I can't really blame them. The battlefield is all they know. But sticking on the side of the politicians in Giad, we get a lot of different faces of Ernst throughout the rest of this episode. One, he is like literally almost zealot in his ideologies. And if you don't really know what that means, that's like he will be blind to his ideologies and he will like take them to the grave and stop nothing at hoping everybody feels the same. And I quote from Ernst, "A society which refuses to save children because there's no benefit is a society in which the end benefits no one. And if humanity can't survive except by killing children because they're strange, humanity would be better off dead." And you can really tell, like, when he's talking, like, a lot of these characters have like glimmers or like bright and shining eyeballs or like stuff that's very noticeable and appealing about their eyes. But Ernst, he's got dead eyes. Like, it's dark and gloomy and sinister almost when I look in his eyes. And to be honest, Spearhead, the group, can kind of really tell that he's a little bit over the top and screwed up, but they got to go with it. We also kind of see his political side as well as a politician. I mean, throughout, we said earlier how the other figures of his group were like, it would be just easier to kill them. Well, after convincing and campaigning pretty much not to kill Spearhead, they travel into the city over to the place where they're going to have Spearhead live. And throughout the city, the people are rejoicing about 86. They love them. They want to save them. They're literally chanting in the streets to save the 86. Which this city ends up becoming a complete 180 to what Spearhead's lifestyle was adjusted to, because Spearhead literally up to this point lived a life of being called pigs, treated as inhumane. We also see Ernst being a father figure. Basically, on paper, he's adopted Spearhead's group, and basically they live with him now. At the end of the episode as well, Ernst is talking with the maid Teresa that we kind of saw in the opener, and another little squirt, which I'll get to here in a second. But he says, and I quote, "Do you think it's a stupid way of trying to compensate for things that I'm using them as a replacement?" This is a super intriguing second sentence in that quote, that I'm using them as a replacement, that I really think we're going to get a way in-depth thing about this. So I have a feeling that Ernst lost his family in this war with the Legion, or maybe the rebellion against the Giad. Now, I mentioned we were going to go back to this little squirt. This little squirt is Frederica Rosenfort. She's basically acting as the little sister to the group. There were some things that happened and she's got to stay in the mansion with them as well. And so on paper, Ernst basically adopted her as the daughter, and she is the step sibling almost, saying that she wants to heal their wounds, you know, help them with their love and stuff, because all they know is war and they've been hated their whole life. But the most interesting thing about her, you get a little bit of key indicators of this, but she's called Empress in the final moments. And truthfully, I don't actually think she's called Empress in the final moments because of some like cute, you know, father-daughter-y kind of thing. I think like there's actually some legitimacy and nobility in that title, because throughout the couple minutes that we know her, she talks way more formal than like a regular child her age would. Like, she literally cries because Shin teases her, but she has some sort of authority, and like with her standing on the table, she wants to be seen as a higher up, and maybe she is a higher up. There's a lot of indicators saying that she's a very important character. Now, going back to what I said about Shin finally being alone now that Ray's consciousness is basically killed in that Legion, there's a moment where Ernst delivers something to Shin in the final moments of this episode. He actually delivers Ray's piece that Shin had and carried with him all that time in Spearhead. But Shin looking at this piece, there is one word that is said that absolutely caught me off my game, flabbergasted me, and we have to know more. And that is the word Kiri. I just want to know who, what, when, where, why, and how did you think of Kiri? That word, what does it mean, and what does it have to do with Ray's piece? Now, throughout the light novel that I've read, I don't have any idea who Kiri is. I looked at my character sheet. Kiri is not someone that we've come across. So I have no idea. Maybe this is a place. Like, I don't even know if it's a person, because when the Empress was drawing, like, the Empress didn't have like a extra character that could have been Kiri. So like, I have no idea why Shin is saying, oh, I guess this was Shin that said it, but I don't know why anybody would say Kiri. And so I think that's kind of a teaser of the next episode. I think we're gonna really find out in the next episode maybe who this is. Maybe not meet them per se, or maybe go to the place, but we're gonna find out what Kiri is, who Kiri is. And you heard it here first. I don't know, but we still don't know who this blue-eyed character is, and kind of seems like the antagonist that we're gonna have in this part. But overall, I think this episode really does a great job kicking off part 2. It sets up the new environments of both of our groups, I guess. I don't want to say sides, because they're not like fighting against each other, but like the two new groups. You know, Lena's changed, how she's evolved as a character, and she is more demanding, she is more determined, and she's more rough. She's built herself. And then also Spearhead and their new family, their new situation, you know, now being in a life of love and support. And so it does a little bit better, because especially the Spearheads part gets skipped over, and I literally just like flipping through the pages and reading like a sentence every 20 pages. I think the novel eventually touches over that part, but there's some extra things in there that get put in first that I won't spoil about, but I literally cannot wait until next Saturday. You know, before on Saturdays we had Tokyo Revengers, now we have 86. Like, this is going to be awesome. And then also next week, Blue Period and Faraway Paladin is going to be on Saturdays. Our Saturdays are going to be jam-packed. And then when episode 13 is going to drop, you bet we can cover that video here on this channel. I want to go back real quick. Huge shout out before we end this episode to Jarek on Twitter. They pretty much inspired me with this thread, bringing up a lot of symbolism things to look and re-watch 86's episode 12 in a different setting with a different mindset, kind of looking more at like symbolism and reading in between the lines. There are a couple points I brought up that are from this thread that are in the video, but not every single thing is from there. And I left a couple things out, like Cyclops blushing in this moment. So I just want to say shout outs to them. I'll link their Twitter in the description below, because I think they're going to be doing this next week as well, and it's really, really cool. But again, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. This is probably my very first in-depth look at an anime episode, and probably the most like research I've done to go into a video on this channel. So if you like what you saw, maybe you want to see more, please give me some feedback. Leave a like, let me know how you enjoyed the episode of 86 and also this video about it, because this was a lot of fun to make. Actually, I had a ton of fun with this. And please make sure like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. And if you want more videos right now, you can go check out these ones that have popped up over here. There's a video over there that is best recommended for you according to YouTube's Supermind, and then also a playlist about anime that I think you might enjoy. So I hope you love this. Hope to see you in the next episode. Keep watching anime, keep enjoying yourselves, and have a great day.